right, we're here to talk about Sammy Sosa, ham sandwich. What's this movie called, man?
Sammy Shoeshine.
You ignorant American, you.
Yes, correct.
No, that's
not the name.
movie.
Oh,
I'm sorry, that's not the name of the movie. That's just the theme of the movie.
Oh, really?
The movie's called Samsara.
See, yeah, that's what I knew. I was getting that kind of vibe from this movie. Like, I thought the title of this movie was, "You dumb motherfucker, get a passport." Quit watching TV and get out and see the world. The thing is, man, this is one of those movies. Actually, what it reminded me of was, do you remember, Coast, I know you remember that Francis Ford Coppola movie, Koyaanisqatsi.
Yeah, Koyaanisqatsi.
I know. I never saw that.
That's what I thought about too.
I never saw it.
Yeah. Who, coincidentally, I went to elementary school with. She tried to kiss me a few times. Give me some cooties.
Oh, I thought she was the one who beat you up.
Yeah, she did. When I went to kiss her, she took my lunch money instead. But no, it turns out that this cinematographer, this director, that was his first movie that he was cinematographer on.
Okay, because the whole time, every time I read the description of it and even watching it, I'm like, all right, it's Koyaanisqatsi, just less trippy. Still trippy, but less so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the guy also did a movie in '92, which was huge, called Barack Obama. Yeah,
it's the same.
Another guy. Yeah, everyone's getting their own movie these days.
The director and producer, the director is Ron Frick.
Yeah.
Or Fricky.
Yeah, Ron Frick.
And
Ron Freak.
and I forgot the Mark Madigan or something. I forgot the name of the producer. But was that 92 when they did Barack?
Baraka, yeah, that was 92.
So they're back together again for the first time with Samsara.
Is Francis Ford Coppola, is he a producer on this?
No, I didn't see his name on there.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, they cut him out. After he made Jack, nobody returned his phone calls.
But I mean, what this movie is like, I know it was filmed over 4 years and shot in 25 countries.
Right.
And this is like, if you were friends with this guy, and after his travels, he invites you over to his house to watch his home movies. His home movies. And you're just sitting there like, wow, what'd you shoot this with again? Oh, man, that was a 70 millimeter I brought with me on that trip.
That shit in HD.
Yeah.
After your friend went to Best Buy and bought our HD TV and came back from his trip. But he's like, hey, watch this shit, man. So no interest down, by the way.
Yeah, so you sit your ass at his house for like almost like 2 hours. At the end of that session, he's no longer your friend. He's an asshole.
Ghost, right. The thing is, it's like your friend who's really talented. You go like, wow, this guy really knows how to set up a shot. But I am sitting here for an hour and a half just watching his home movies. Maybe if you watch him at his house, he'd like let you toke on some weed or give you the right mushrooms. You can fully enjoy the experice. But you just at a theater, you like, okay, push the button and move on to the next slide.
Yeah, but you know what? The worst thing though is that it's like being at his place, but that motherfucker didn't even have the balls to show up to hang out with you. Because half the time you're looking at all these different locations, and all you can think about is like, wow, that's beautiful. Where the fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have no answers.
It sounds like what you describing here is like he invites you over to watch this stuff, and then he gets a phone call and says, "Oh, hey man, I'll be right back." And he don't come back for the next 2 hours. And your ass meanwhile, he's out at the bar partying down and forgot to let you know that he was leaving. Meanwhile, you stuck.
Not only that, but before he left, he said, "Oh, there's a part here I really want you to see. But I'll be right back." So that way you won't get up and move around and eat out of his fridge. You're sitting there waiting for this thing he's dying for you to see. So you sit there and actually like a dumbass watch the whole thing. While he's gone. He comes back like, huh?
It's worse than a Saw movie. The thing is, you don't get killed at the end.
That torture keeps on going. Hey, you know what? Leon, let me tell people about the plot here. Oh, wait, there isn't one, is there?
There's no plot.
No, not at all.
It's about 30 minutes before you even get a real sense of a theme. I mean, mostly he's like showing you these exotic locations. And the first 30 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes, I felt like, wow, it's like some guy who's an up-and-coming cinematographer, or maybe even the greatest cinematographer, wanted to go like, hey, man, check out my portfolio. And you're like, yeah, if I was ever shooting an epic, you would be the guy I would call to be behind the camera. But as far as directing your own movie or writing a story, no.
Yeah,
are you trying to tell me something? Like, at times I was like, okay, this guy's he's like making The Last Airbender without any airbenders in it.
Well, yeah, that 40 minutes is like, it's like you're going through deep massage therapy.
Right.
Without the massage. And sure as hell you ain't going to get no happy ending with this because you're like, all right, this is real peaceful. It's beautiful. So much so that I was finding myself falling asleep. I was falling asleep around the 30-minute mark because I'm like, wow, I can only look at landscapes and beautiful scenery for so long. I mean, until they really like throw a punch at you,
right?
Where they introduce you to this guy who has like this crazy fucked up obsession with Pan's Labyrinth, to where he starts putting mud, and it comes out of nowhere. So at that moment when you're like, okay, this is starting to get kind of just derivative and not interesting, they throw that at you, and that's when it kind of picks up.
Well, that's what this is. I've heard these kind of movies be described as aquarium films. If you haven't seen, I guess I fucked the name on Kenyanis Kwatsu. If you
Kronos.
He did Kronos.
Actually did
Kronos. You'd be surprised at some of the stuff this guy worked on. Mm-hmm. I mean, he even worked on Revenge of the Sith, I think.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the
Okay.
Oh, you didn't know some beautiful cinematography in that movie?
You know what?
Nerds was so beautiful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Revenge of the Sith. I remember that one odd scene where Anakin is just looking out, and there's like shots of Coruscant and different.
Well, he only did part of it. I don't know which part he did.
I think that's the part he did.
Yeah, I did. I know he did some parts of it, but
he would say, "I did the part that didn't suck."
Yeah, you know what? That part didn't suck.
Which part was that? Because it all sucked to me. But I think they call these like aquarium movies because, like that movie that I mentioned, the Francis Ford Coppola movie, Kenyanis Kwatsu from '82. This is a movie where it's nothing but visuals,
right?
And in Francis Ford Coppola, his movie that he did with the cinematographer, it was all accompanied by Philip Glass, right? Who did the soundtrack?
I think you're right. Yeah.
And it shows you a lot of things. I mean, it's not just exotic locales. It shows you life in a factory. It's just an excuse to just show you beautiful cinematography in exotic locations and in what we consider to be the mundane. And well, looking at this here, that movie's so highly praised. What's the difference between that movie and this movie? Because what I mean by aquarium films is that this movie is just meant for you just to look at.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. If you own this movie and if you had it playing on a big TV in your house where you had a party going on, that would be a cool thing to have. Yeah, it'd be like having a giant aquarium.
I'd leave.
But asking you to pay money and sit down and watch it is a different thing. But it's everything you just described, because you're seeing all these exotic locales, and if there's anything that seems to be tying it together, they keep showing like different tribes. It's like they go to Africa and you see all the different tribal, like, I don't know, deformations they've done. Like they've taken tattooing way past anything.
Yeah.
The way they
shit goes to it starts to look like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it
starts to look like Austin.
But like they'll show you a bunch of that and then cut to, let's say, let's stick to Americans, where they stupidly tattoo themselves trying to copy the natives. See, they can't be real. But then it goes to this, as co-host mentioned, this one crazy white guy who just covers himself, and he's sitting in a suit and he just covers his face with clay and picks up a paintbrush and paints the eyes and a Joker mouth on it, and then stabs it and takes water and washes it off and goes back and does it and just gets more and more manic.
It's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of that scene in Poltergeist when the guy's tearing off his
tearing his face off.
Yeah, it looks that crazy. But I mean, at that point in the movie, that's when it started to actually get interesting for me.
Exactly. That's when I turned to you and I said, what the fuck are we watching?
I know, because at that moment, there's like at that moment, it starts to descend into this whole. It starts to go into like life in the being in a factory. Like you even the processing of food, which is like when you see that, all we did was look at each other like, oh shit, As soon as you see this goddamn it looked like a lawnmower coming towards all these chickens, and all you see is these
egg beater blades.
Yeah, these egg beater blades
getting sucked into it.
You start to see chickens start to disappear, and you're like, "Oh my god, what the fuck am I watching?" You're like, "Oh no!"
Speaking of Saw, I thought you were going to say the puppet came out and told those chickens, "Y'all want to play a game?"
I know, exactly.
Big machine comes sweeping them up.
But it's moments like that where the movie catches you off guard, and because the whole time I was like, "Are those fucking chickens getting decimated right before our eyes?" Until you realize that no, it's just a big vacuum cleaner for chickens. To get them in these cages, and then it goes through the whole process of showing you how basically chickens get basically ripped apart and put on your table to the point where it goes to pigs and then cows. And then it shows you the assembly lines of these people working. I guess it was in Japan.
probably.
Yeah, where you just see people just doing like I mean, you see like thousands of people on these assembly lines, just quartering these chickens, assembly lines, just quartering these chickens and pigs. And you're like, okay, that's interesting, but for some reason you're scared because you're like, okay, what else am I going to see of this?
Right.
And it's the one point in the movie where you can feel people start to feel kind of uncomfortable.
Especially since it's at the Alamo Draft House and everybody is there sitting there eating food.
Yeah.
And suddenly he takes you on a tour through a slaughterhouse. He's like,
Especially if you eating chicken or hamburgers.
Oh,
they
yeah,
show
yeah.
pigs. They show like these monster-sized pigs that have about 14 piglets suckling off of them, and they're so fat you can tell they can't get up.
Yeah.
And then they show their carcasses just being run through the saw and hooked and run through the line. And it is funny thing like the up and down with the chickens.
But
you
Leon,
like,
let me ask you something. That didn't stop you from ordering the extra side of bacon, did it? You wanted more. You got
it's funny.
appetite.
I got lucky in that I ate before I got there, so I wasn't in the process of eating. But when it comes to bacon, you cut a pig's head off right in front of me, and I'm still going to eat.
I know.
You sucked the head like crawfish.
It still looked good when you saw those decapitated pigs, man. But I mean,
But
yeah.
the movie gets interesting from there, like because it starts bouncing more into the modern world, or okay, you know what it is? You know what you forgot? Okay, so you go to the chicken slaughterhouse to these gigantic fat pigs they cut up, and then it cuts to America to show people eating at obese people eating at a fast food restaurant.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it took fat people and was slaughtering them.
But you got that feeling like maybe it was like it's like, oh wow, okay, you could make a statement, but you had to stop the film and go like, look how fat pigs these Americans
Well,
are.
there's a moment in the film where when you see how these animals are processed, there's a moment in the film where it cuts to somebody being in a doctor's office where you see somebody sit down with their huge, fat, flabby, like cellulite filled stomach. And you see somebody start to put markings on them like they're about to get carved open. And that's when you're like, oh, God, no, not this. No. And luckily, the thing is, the movie doesn't go that far.
No,
but
it
it
doesn't.
still
Soylent
makes
Green
you...
is people.
I know, exactly. But it still makes you, it makes you go, man, the life of a chicken is fucked. And number two, wow, yeah, okay, I get it. We're fat pigs. All right, I understand.
It's sort of our fault that happened.
Stupid
then
Americans, you're no different than a pig.
See,
But
you stupid American, you fat lazy Americans, you won't get up and go visit these beautiful countries. Think you're so much better than the third and second world, don't you? You're fat, about to have a heart attack, lazy, dumb motherfuckers.
You fat
You
fucker.
fucking pork eating, nasty, fat ham sandwich eating motherfucker.
You see these people? They're beautiful.
At this point, why don't they just edit in a shot of Precious running down the street with a bucket of
They
chicken?
should have. That would have made sense at the end of that segment.
But all these things that you're naming, I mean, you go through the part where you're talking about how people are being compared to the slaughterhouses and how we're pretty much slaughtering ourselves by eating these animals. And it sounds like there's some heavy message here.
See, that's the thing.
There's not.
Like when they get the slaughterhouse and the fat Americans, it seems like I get your message. A little heavy-handed, but then it strays away from that.
Yeah,
and that's what's so odd about it.
Yeah, there's times when the movie you could tell like, okay, they just needed to put something in there to wake me up, which
Right.
was like seeing the guy do his Pan Labyrinth impersonation to where it jumps all of a sudden to from the slaughterhouses to
They take you on a tour through a Japanese sex robot shop.
yeah. Well, they were showing like these sex dolls. They're real dolls, but they were little girls. They were like it was assembly line of little girls sex dolls, but with actual like big breast. But they were the size of children. And you
Were
see,
they? I
yeah,
guess
they
I
were.
guess it's a
Yeah, they
scale.
were. They were. It was kind of creepy at that moment.
Yeah.
The movie will take you in a weird leap into that kind of craziness of what else is out there in the world, but then it'll jump back into the beauty of certain like religious. I mean, they showed some amazing landscapes, things that I've never seen before, even in like a National Geographic.
Yeah. And-
but I mean, a lot of those things are like very awe-inspiring. But the thing is, it does jump you from scene to scene, so you never get a real message out of the movie.
And the thing is, with jumping to those scenes that are beautiful or just magical. I mean, I guess if you live there, you go like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't, you're like, wow, where is that? And I know it doesn't want to have a narrative, but it could at least like told you where these places were. Just throw it up there in a subtitle or something.
See, you stupid fucking Americans. You don't even want to do the work for yourself.
No, I know.
You just want them to tell you everything.
And
That's
the
why
thing.
you hate the
There's some of
movie.
the places I'm like, I'd love to know where that is, but I wouldn't even know what to Google to find out what that is.
No shit. Like, yeah, I'm like the whole time I'm like, wow, why do I feel like I've seen this in another movie or something? But man, where the fuck are you? Put the little subtext or whatever where they are, just like in every other goddamn movie. But I understand they want it to be
with the red line.
Yeah, I know.
They go somewhere else.
I want those fucking those titles from Fringe, like where they're hanging out in the clouds, like those titles from Lost and shit. Yeah. But I mean that's kind of the frustrating thing, because as much as the movie's showing you these beautiful locations, you do want to know where they're at, so you can like go home and do your own. You can go
do your own research.
Book a flight.
Yeah, your own research of what you just saw on the screen. I mean, there was an amazing part of this movie where you saw millions. It looked like millions of people running around, and it was some kind of religious thing that they were doing. I can't tell if it was like a Muslim thing or something, but they were circling around this huge cube. It was a huge black cube, and there was like a sea.
You would be talking about Mecca, would you?
But
No.
well, I mean, maybe
it is. I don't
We
know.
don't know.
I don't know. I got to call the director to
It was
find out.
something we'd never seen before.
Yeah, but it was incredible. I mean, just looking at it, you're like, wow, now that is unbelievable. I mean, the aerial shot they got it were just like millions of people. It was like a drain full of fucking people just going down until they touched this goddamn Borg fucking
He
cube or
shoots it
something.
in a way that it starts to look like a machine, and it's like you almost have that disconnect. Like, wow, this is just a million people all at once doing all this. It's it's fascinating. I mean, the guy's talent at shooting things, can't be denied. It's amazing. There's not even words for it.
It's a cinematographer's dream. That's what it is.
As a matter of fact, there was a kid coming out, and the rep high was like, "So what'd you think?" "Are you kidding me, man? It's what I live for. I want to be a cinematographer. This is all what I want." I'm like, "Whoa, good for you."
Yeah, I was like, wow, I guess this movie found its target audience, which is that guy.
When he came out, he still had his penis in his hand. It was all wet down there.
But the thing I couldn't get past is like, you know what? As beautiful as it is, I felt like, I've seen snippets of all this on PBS.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to sit through almost 2 hours of it. I was like, there's moments where it's gorgeous, but if I did my own like edit of the movie, it only probably would have been about 30 minutes. I mean, that would be taking out the most interesting things that, you just don't normally see on TV or in any other documentary about just, people just shooting shit randomly.
Yeah, I mean, one of his biggest flaws is that it just lingers too long on certain things. I mean, some stuff is really interesting and you want to see it, and for those things, it's there long enough. But other stuff, it's like, yeah, that's pretty. Can we get on to the next thing?
I want to go home now.
I mean, it seems like that we're at that point now. Maybe back in '82, this was a sight to behold. But today we got desktop wallpapers. We got Retina screens on our computers. We got HD TV. I mean, that is what I remember when high definition came out. I was like, great. So now I don't have to go see shit like what you're talking about. I can watch it at home.
It really is, and I mean, I think it's that point in film to where, I mean, we've already had a few films out like this. I mean, you look at it, and watching that film made me want to go check out Tree of Life to see that first 10 minutes or whatever, what everyone's talking about, the creation of the world. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm into visuals.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you don't want to be trapped.
I don't want to be trapped in the theater feeling obligated. I got to sit through all of it.
Yeah.
I'd rather, that's why I think I'd rather be at home just watching it on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why I would give it a rental.
and me for those same reasons. I mean, it made me think about like when Tarsem Singh did The Fall. And it's another one of those things where he took several years, maybe almost a decade, because he wanted to shoot these locations. And it's more about the scenery and the art piece. He fully admits that. But there is something of a story just to keep you interested, to go through it all. And this could have used that. Just that one thing to string it together, or a theme that led you from one thing to the next. It's not completely random, but it is a little too much.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I was a little I was kind of scratching my head about the bookends that they chose to use. Where I'm like, you know what, it doesn't really fall in the context of what you're doing here. Besides, you're letting people know, okay, we're finally going to let you off this ride because we're back to point A. Just to let you know, we're at the end in case you're about to blow your brains out.
Yeah. Just you start to feel like, is this ever going to end? They start backtracking to the beginning.
Oh, okay. So what would you give it then?
A rental also.
No,
Coast is absolutely right. It's, to me, like, if this was a book of photos, I would buy that book. That would be beautiful. because I could look at it at my own pace.
And that book would tell you where every fucking thing is.
Right, you're right.
I don't.
But being in the theater, sitting there, you know, I mean, you came out with people like, oh, that was amazing. It was just gorgeous. I'm like, I guess y'all don't have nothing else to do with your life.
Or they've never been nowhere. Or they don't have cable TV. It could be one of the other.
You know, that's the thing.
Or the fish have finally died in their aquarium.
I mean, you talk about how, you know, back in '82, how amazing that was, you know, groundbreaking. But like now, not only have we had movies like this, but the world is smaller in that it's easier to travel. We have information about other places.
Yeah.
You know, one of the big reasons James Bond movies were so big was because it's the first time people got to see all these exotic locations.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that big of a deal anymore.
We've been everywhere. We've been fucking on goddamn Star Wars land and Naboo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Internet has ruined this kind of stuff for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't understand these movies either. Do you remember when they brought out a movie where it was nothing but about babies?
Yes.
And all you did was watch babies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got up and walked the fuck out.
I know. I was like, what am I?
You know, the most annoying thing about me going to a theater is babies. So I don't want to see a movie about babies in the theater.
I know. I was like, is there some kind of weird fetish I'm supposed to be getting into? Like, is this?
Yeah, I'm surprised the movie wasn't bookend with the director coming back in. Oh, hey, you done watching my movie? Oh, hey, man, you can go now.